much does an e-commerce website cost in the UK? It's that age-old question, and I'm sure if you go out to 2 or 3 different web design agencies, you're going to get massively varied prices coming back. And there's obviously a lot of confusion around this, so that's why I created this video and also the article that this video accompanies, just to try and demystify really why the price of web design varies so much, and just to give you some tips on things that you can do so that you're best prepared to get the best possible, most accurate quotes back for your e-commerce project. So in summary, to answer how much does an e-commerce website cost in the UK, the answer really is that it varies. It depends on the project, and it also depends on the approach. So when I say it depends on the project, it depends on the complexity. If it's a fairly straightforward e-commerce site, then it's fairly straightforward to design and build, but it might be that you have specific functionality that's specific to your business, and depending on the complexity of that can impact the timeline for the project and obviously mean more man hours, so that can increase the cost. The other thing that can influence the cost is the approach for the project. So there's the bespoke approach, where you design the website completely from scratch and then you build it completely from scratch using a content management system like WordPress, WooCommerce. For instance, it might be Shopify, it might be Magento. But that approach, because it's completely bespoke, is obviously starting from a completely blank canvas and considering every single element of the website. So naturally that has a cost implication because it takes longer. However, if you utilize the off-the-shelf approach, which might be right for your business, that's picking an existing theme for the content management system that you want to use. So that's perhaps a WordPress theme, a WooCommerce theme, and then modifying that and setting everything up on that platform. That saves a lot of time, and that can enable you to get up and running much more quickly, and it can save a lot of money. So really it depends on the approach to the project, but an e-commerce project can really vary as drastically as being perhaps between £500 to £1,000 for an off-the-shelf approach, to being between £3,000 and even perhaps £15,000 upwards for something that's bespoke and has lots of complex functionality. So prices can drastically vary. So let's have a look at some of the best ways that you can go about getting the most accurate prices for your e-commerce project. So my first tip would be to really spend some time determining your exact needs. Now, it sounds really straightforward and obvious, but it really makes sense before you go out and contact several web designers to spend some time thinking about all of the functionality that you need your website to provide. So open up Excel, list everything out, and then against each item, mark whether that is essential to your minimal viable product, if you like, or whether it's something that would be a nice to have. Having a document like this would be really handy for any web designer, because they can just glance at it, look through everything that you need, and it just really helps scope out the project. So if you've got something like that you can provide to web designers, that's really going to help you get some accurate prices back. So my next piece of advice would be to really spend some time considering whether a bespoke website or an off-the-shelf website is right for your business. Now, neither of those approaches is necessarily right or wrong. It completely depends where your business is in its life cycle. The off-the-shelf approach can be really great for people that are looking to get an idea online quickly. Perhaps it's their first venture into e-commerce, whereas bespoke tends to suit businesses that are more established and need something that has been carefully considered from a completely blank canvas to suit their needs and their objectives. However, off-the-shelf can also work for more established businesses as well. It just completely depends how important you value design. So making sure that you know and you're confident that you definitely want to go down the bespoke route, or you're quite happy to go down the off-the-shelf route, would really help when you contact web designers for your quote. So when you reach out to web designers, it's obviously important to think about the e-commerce website that you're going to be asking them to build, but don't forget the really crucial topic of support and aftercare and digital marketing. So there's a few things that you want to make sure that you've covered. So I'll try and go through those now quickly. Support is so often overlooked, but with an e-commerce website, and any website really, you're going to need ongoing support. There's going to be situations where a customer has had an issue on the website, whether that's user error or not, and they're going to email you, and you're likely going to need to then pass that on to your web designer, and they're going to need to troubleshoot that issue and investigate it. And that's where you really need to have some sort of ongoing agreement where there's a monthly package where this kind of thing is going to be covered, because otherwise you can kind of fall into the trap of being billed an hourly rate each time your web designer has to look into something that's quite small and quite trivial. So get something in place that you're comfortable with that covers all those eventualities. The next thing in terms of digital marketing would be search engine optimization. So talk to your web designer about SEO. Are they going to build the website with SEO in mind? Have they got experience with search engine optimization? And is this a service that they also offer on an ongoing basis? It's important to find this out because you're going to need to know whether you can work with them for the ongoing marketing of your site, or whether you might need to look at finding another digital marketing agency or a freelancer that can help you with that. Another thing to bring up is bug fixing and how that's handled. So when a website's built, there's obviously a QA process. Any decent web designer or agency will go through that before they launch a project, and you'll obviously get a chance to check the website as well before it goes live. But there are often little tiny bugs that slip through the net. So again, you want to make sure that you're not being charged an hourly fee to fix these straight after the website goes live. Typically, any good web designers usually have a period of bug fixing where they'll look at these things and squash them for free. So just make sure you bring that up, and just make sure that that's something that is covered and everybody knows where they stand with that. So another one that's often overlooked is migrating customers and migrating products and data in general. So this really only applies if you've got an existing e-commerce store, but again, it can be overlooked and it's really, really critical. So with your existing customers, ideally, you need to be able to have their information exported and then imported into your new website, and the same with products. So really, this needs to be discussed early on. You need to know how this is happening and whether it's something that your web designer is going to handle in terms of the product addition perhaps, or whether it's something that you're going to need to allow time to carry out on your side. Typically, web designers will do the product addition for you, but there may be a cost associated with that depending on whether it can easily be exported and imported or not. So these are all things, again, that you just need to make sure are covered, because these are things that could impact the price for your e-commerce site. So another really useful thing to consider is whether having your website redesigned is the perfect time to improve your business processes. So with an e-commerce website, it can be a great time to perhaps integrate it with your accounting platform, say that's Xero. So for instance, WooCommerce and Xero integrate really nicely, and you can have your orders flow directly into WooCommerce to make that reconciliation process really, really easy, so it doesn't take up too much of your time. So having your e-commerce website designed is a great time to think about trying to streamline some of these other processes to save time in the long run. Another one to think about is email marketing as well. Are you going to see this as an opportunity to grow your email list? Growing an email list is really, really important for any business. So again, this is something that needs to be discussed. How are you going to collect emails from your customers on your site? Is it going to be something on the checkout? Are you going to have offers throughout the website, little promotions that are going to encourage them to give over their email address so that you can market to them in the future? So make sure this is something that you bring up with your web designer as well, and you've given some good thought to. So my final piece of advice around e-commerce websites is timescales. So you have to be realistic with timescales, and it completely depends on the approach. If you're going down the bespoke route, where the website's being designed from scratch and then hand-coded and integrated with the CMS, it's not going to be possible to design and build that website within a few weeks. You need to be realistic in that it's going to take probably anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks to build that site, depending on the complexity, and to go through the whole process properly and to launch it successfully. With the off-the-shelf approach, however, it's much, much quicker. So you can build a website within 3 to 5 days, for instance, going down that approach. So if timescales are really, really important to you, that can obviously affect the approach that you decide to go down, but it's important to be realistic. Any web designer that says they're going to design and build a completely bespoke e-commerce site for you in a week, 2 weeks, it's just not possible. So just be realistic with timescales. So I hope this video has been useful and given you some pointers so that you're more confident contacting web designers for quotes on your e-commerce project. So to recap, an off-the-shelf WordPress and WooCommerce e-commerce solution could be anywhere from £500 to £1,000. Whereas if you're looking at something completely bespoke, then it depends of course on the functionality, but you could be looking at anywhere from 3,000 to 15,000 and up, depending on the functionality. So hopefully that's been useful. If there's any questions, then do feel free to use the live chat on the website or drop me an email via the contact form.